Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be taking a look at an Aurora clip from 2021 when she performed at COP26, which was the 2021 UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, Scotland. Okay, this was the type of place where world leaders would go and business leaders would go to say, yes, we're going to commit to bringing down our carbon footprint. Limiting global warming as much as possible, take out the greenhouse gases and all of that. She talked for about 11 minutes. This looks to be just her, so it's not an interview. It's really more her talking about why this is important to her. And I always like listening to Aurora talk about things like this. I find her to be a very compassionate and empathetic artist, and I really like her music. I have one of her most recent albums back there behind me, What Happened to the Heart. I'm just looking forward to checking this out. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, just know I'm always looking at non-music content that features bands that are touring today. So if that interests you, please subscribe so you won't miss anything. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this.
My experience so far here at the COP26 here in Glasgow is very inspiring. I'm meeting a lot of good people. Some people that have done great things, some people that have done great small things, but equally as great. It's nice. I feel like it's very spiritual. I do strongly believe that neither art, music, or fantasy books or anything lovely would exist without our planet and without nature to be the great divine source of inspiration that she is every single day. I'm reading a lot of fantasy books that takes place in nature. I love to read when humans try the best they can to describe her, because she's so complex that it's almost impossible to find any words worthy of her, if that makes sense.
I'm just going to note here, for those that don't know, Aurora comes from Norway. That is a country where it seems most of the citizens have a very high respect for nature, and that might be because it is such a beautiful place. So I think that is instilled into people as they grow up there. And I do know that where she has her studio, she has an absolutely beautiful view of nature right outside her window. I think she's right on a fjord or something. It's unreal. So that's the context of where she comes from.
But I'm enjoying seeing people try. I'm enjoying trying myself as well. But right now, I'm reading a book called The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I strongly recommend. I'm feeling very saddened by all the land lost. I'm feeling very saddened on behalf of all the indigenous people around the world who mostly have this amazing connection with Mother Earth. Almost, spiritual, and I can't imagine how much it must have hurt to both lose your friends and to die while trying to protect your land, the little that's left of it, and then seeing it disappear when you care so deeply. I find it really, really heartbreaking. I find it really heartbreaking that people have that we managed to extinct a whole species that's taken millions of years to become, and then it takes us 2 years to remove its whole existence. It's just so unproportional and so confusing and so incredibly heartbreaking.
So these have been topics that have been around for a long time, and they've also been slammed by, corporate interests, usually, sometimes politics. This was an issue with the rainforest all the way back in the 1980s and probably before that, so that goes back a solid 40 years. They were clear-cutting rainforest in order to have land to graze cattle that would then be slaughtered for beef. So, kind of a short-term gain, and because of the way the rainforests were put together, naturally, the soil wasn't really great for sustained growing of crops. It was a short-term gain, and then it just kind of became a wasteland. And that's why They would continue to clear cut it to get more room. The problem is it took millennia for those rainforests to come about, and they're really important to keeping the world itself properly operating, the jet streams. It's a whole topic, and I understand that especially these days it seems to be a topic of derision, where people say, oh, well, you're a tree hugger. Well, here's the fact. We've got this one planet that we grew up on. I fully empathize with what she's saying here.
And also the fact that, this is the only planet with life within the whole of the universe as far as we know. And still we're managing to ruin it. It's such a rare thing. And it's just heartbreaking. So my relationship with the planet right now is very heartbroken. And I'm feeling very like you're gasping for air, because the sense of emergency is so present, but still it feels like the big forces in the world, the big companies, the big names aren't doing her justice. And it's frustrating, I think, for the people. But
there are ways to avoid creating massive destruction and still making big profits. But that requires leaving a few things on the table and focusing on other things, to having foresight, to having more than a very short-term view of things. And of course, people often don't like to hear about this if it's their bonus in question or, their profits. They will go out of their way to ridicule this notion. So you may have seen a lot of that out there in the world. Well, that's why, because there's money at stake.
But I also feel hope. A long, long time ago, humans had little to show off with. We were just exploring, simply existing here on this planet and surviving. And then once we put our heads together, we accomplished amazing things. We even sent ourselves to the moon, and we managed to be up on the moon and look at ourselves from space. And that's one example of what happens when we unite. And if that's not a proof that we can save the planet if we unite, I don't know what is. Because we've done impossible things before, and we can do impossible things in the future, or what seems impossible.
You have to be able to leave something on the table. That's the problem.
And I think it's so important to just understand the value of coopermanship, if that's a word, but to understand the value of
cooperation,
uniting, and understanding that this is a rare thing. Finally, we have one cause that actually touches all of us, that is very all of humankind against this global emergency, which is rare, because most things in the world, most global matters seems to turn us up against each other, or at least we create these strange battles where we seem to believe we have to fight against each other. But
hello, COVID.
In this example, we have the chance to really unite. I think it will do wonders for humankind if we manage and when we manage. But yeah, I have hope. Of course I do. I find everyone here important. I find you guys important. There are many people here in the room. You can't see them, but they're here. And they're doing all of this, making sure we all get to think about this matter just one more time, and maybe something good will come out of our mouths that will inspire people or make people think. Every single human here is important. And none of the things I say or none of the songs I sing later will mean anything without anyone in the crowd. So, yeah, important, but just like everyone here and everyone out there who are paying attention, I'm just proud to be a part of something where people are fighting for something because we should. and we can, in comparison to often when people destroy just because they can. And that's really beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is. Just a reminder for those who don't know, English is Aurora's second language. And it sounds like she was asked to expound on her thoughts, perhaps on the spot. So I'm giving her some grace here as she collects her thoughts and talks. And this is actually how most people go about having a conversation. They're calm about it. They're not jumping down each other's throats. You know, if there was somebody else there in front of her, they wouldn't be over-talking her. They would be listening.
The whole essence of today is beautiful. Of course, using my voice and doing what I can, and, you know, touring more green and all of those small things, but big things that you can do to make things better. But I love involving my listeners because they are eager to help too. And sometimes it's hard to know where to begin. So I try the best I can to offer a beginning to this journey in feeling that you're actually doing something, because I think most of us so badly want to do something, but we don't know where to begin. One of the things we're doing right now with my next album is that we offer the chance for people to plant a tree in a little forest when they buy my album, so we can hopefully create quite a big little forest, and like in hundreds of years, or in even 50 years, the trees will be all grown up and proud, and
interesting.
They will be there because of us, and that's beautiful.
That is a beautiful thing. Let me just look that up. I want to find out more about that. Okay, it wasn't out yet, but she was about to release The Gods We Can Touch, and that is an album that she recorded, yes, at Barony Rosendahl, which is an absolutely beautiful place in Norway among nature. Norwegian pop star Aurora planted thousands of trees as part of a reforestation campaign connected to her album, The Gods We Can Touch. Partnering with the charity One Tree Planted, she built a mini forest in the Andes Mountains and championed a message of environmental healing and hope. Here is an artist that walks the walk, doesn't just talk the talk, but actually puts it into action. Amazing.
Beautiful in itself, and even though if it's just one tree, it's still one tree. You can find so many interesting things people are doing out there, small things. I met a guy from Peru earlier today, and he said that they're a part of recycling plastic, and then they repurpose the plastic and give them and make it into something people need, like toiletries, and you know, it's just amazing. And they're just young people who volunteer and they do it themselves. And I love, you know, and I have his number now, and we're going to try to do something exciting together, because I love working with just individuals doing small but important projects, because individuals got us here in the first place. And I strongly believe that individuals alone, you know, with our bare hands, can fix the problem too.
Absolutely.
I think art and music plays a huge role in this, but mostly because the people give art and music meaning, or at least it's in the heart and the eyes of the people that it becomes large and meaningful, which I think is very beautiful. But I think mostly it's because art and music and culture appeals to our soul, and there are few things left in this earth that appeals directly to our soul. And I think also art and music reminds us of something within us that we feel separates us from the rest of life on earth. It makes us have an essence and culture. It makes us have more meaning in life than simply surviving. It makes us have more meaning to wonder and to create and to, you know, explain and all of these beautiful things. And I think that's a very important part of reconnecting with each other and our empathy and our emotional self, and then also the planet, because apathy is such a great enemy to progress.
Yeah.
And whenever things become too political for us, too complicated, too based on fear, or too
Yep.
angered, or if we feel shamed for not being good enough, or not doing, or not knowing enough, it creates apathy because we're afraid.
Yeah, you get kind of stuck because you get concerned about that, you know. And the thing is that this is a weapon that is used against the very idea of protecting what we have. I think the main problems with art and music is that they don't tend to pay very well. And so they get a lower priority. And same with Nature Conservancy, for that matter. They don't pay as well. You know, oh, there's minerals under that earth, or I could use this land for something else. You know, it's very bothersome that there's a rainforest sitting here, or, you know, I could put a development here. You know, the list is endless. I think we're close to the end here, so let's see if we can wrap up.
Which is natural, but I think, or I hope at least, that music and art can do an important part of just appealing to, you know, the opposite of apathy and inspire. But of course, again, the people do it themselves. They're the one who let themselves be inspired. So I think it's important, but I also think it's only important because people care about it.
Okay, I can go along with that. It's amazing to me that she actually had a tree planting campaign associated with one of her albums, although it does not surprise me, knowing her as an artist. She is very nature-oriented. But really, it benefits us all to be a little bit nature-oriented. I understand, you know, maybe the frat house won't understand. They'll laugh at you, or whomever, you know, the guys at work. Especially the guys at work, if you happen to work for an oil company or any number of jobs, really, where you can take advantage of the earth and dig into it and do things with it instead. But the thing is, it's really not necessary. It's really not necessary. It's a matter, once again, of just leaving it alone, saying, we're going to practice some restraint here. You have to have that ability in the first place. So there's the rub, usually. Anyway, this is a little bit unusual. I didn't really mean to get, really, this is a political thing because of all those complications. So I didn't mean to get political per se, but actually this is pretty common sense stuff. It's not even controversial unless you want to make it controversial because you've got a stake in the matter. It's good to know that these types of forces are out there too if you weren't fully aware. You know, sometimes you have to be careful of people. They'll tell you things that are not true to benefit themselves. And that's to the detriment of places such as planet Earth, you know, and all the places on it. Yes, there's a lot of good reasons to preserve it. So I'll leave it at that. That was really nice. Hadn't seen that before. It doesn't surprise me too much to see Aurora involved in something like this, but really, I think we all stand to gain if we just have some awareness of it. Okay? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you enjoyed the presentation, please subscribe. All right, thanks so much for joining me today. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care, folks.